All right, so today we're going to talk about improving your body, improve your golf game, and talk about some tips about how we're going to fix our golf swing through fixing our body and improving some of our mobility. Perfect. So first, my name's Daniel Hilborn. I'm a certified athletic therapist, an osteopathic manual practitioner, and a Titles Performance Institute level 1 coach. When working with any golfer, we need to find the underlying causes of what is causing this swing dysfunction, the lack of power, the lack of consistency, or what's causing pain. We then treat these dysfunctions with some hands-on treatment, which could be some manual treatment, the creation of a golf-specific exercise program, and then using some biofeedback training to help correct these dysfunctions, creating a more efficient and repeatable swing for you to take to the golf course. As we go through this presentation, we're going to be taking a look at some swing faults, some stretches and exercises about how to correct them. And then at the end, we'll chat a little bit about how our biofeedback program works, and how that's going to help to reinforce some of these patterns that we're working on to make that swing more repeatable for you going forward. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about in this presentation is learn where your body may be lacking in strength, range of motion, and flexibility, and how this correlates to mishits, loss of distance, and pain in the golf swing. So when we're talking about the team approach, to make real improvements to our golf swing, we need to take a team approach. We need a golf professional that can help work on the technical or golf skills of the game, and then a body coach to ensure that we have the strength, range of motion, and flexibility to make an efficient and consistent golf swing, and to do what our teaching pros want us to do. A lot of us will try to improve our swing by looking at some of the best golfers in the world and try to replicate that swing. The problem is, most of us don't have the physical capabilities to get into the ranges or the strength to maintain posture and alignment throughout the swing. There are many ways to swing a golf club, but we need to find the most efficient way for your body. If we look at the two golfers in our screen here, we have Rory McIlroy at the top and Matt Wolff on the bottom. Two very different swings. Some of that may be from body mechanics, what their body is physically able to do. Some of that may be through their coaching or the way their golf pro or teaching pro wants them to swing. But the one thing that they both have in common is the kinematic sequence. This is one thing that every golfer needs to have an efficient and repeatable swing. So that's what we're going to talk about next, is that kinematic sequence. So every good golf swing doesn't have to be exactly the same. And we look at Rory and we look at Matt Wolff from before. Both golfers have very different swings, but both are very efficient. In order to be the most efficient, repeatable swing and least likely to create pain and injury, it must follow that same kinematic sequence. And this is where a lot of golfers struggle. So if we look at our diagram on the screen here, we can see that proper kinematic sequence from the top of the backswing down to impact needs to be our hips or our pelvis initiate that downswing, followed by our torso or our spine, followed by our arm, then the wrist and club. This is the way that every good golfer, no matter of the exact technicalities of their swing looks, this is the format that it needs to follow to be efficient, repeatable, and to decrease pain. If we take a look at this graph underneath, this is something that we get through our 3D golf tracing technology. So we'll have you come into the clinic, we have you do some swings, and this graph really gives us the most information about which order are the segments moving in, what speed are they moving at? Are they accelerated and decelerating in the right order and at the right times? These are things that will have you swing the golf club when you come in, analyze it, take a look at this graph, as well as a whole bunch of other numbers, and really dissect what's going on with your swing and what we need to do to help correct it. So there's 5 physical problems in the golf swing. The first one being poor core control. The second is lower body dissociation issues. So that's an inability for our lower body to move without our upper body moving. The opposite of that is upper body dissociation, or the inability of our upper body to rotate with our lower body staying nice and stable. An inability to maintain posture while raising our arms overhead. When we swing that golf club, we need to maintain good posture as we bring our arms back into the backswing and down through the impact and the follow through. And then the ability to set and release the golf club. So that is the ability to have good shoulder mobility, arm mobility, wrist mobility to hold the club on plane and keep it on that right track through downswing and into impact. These issues can arise at address during the backswing and during the downswing. So we must assess and address all of these areas in the swing to ensure we have proper flexibility, range of motion, and strength to create that efficient golf swing. So the first thing we're going to look at is C posture. So C posture is this rounded shoulders or lack of thoracic or mid-back extension. This is a very common position we see golfers set up to the ball in, and it often occurs because we have a lack of ability. So we have an inability to extend our thoracic spine, mostly due to postural issues. This limits our ability to rotate our spine and will cause a number of issues with our club plane during the backswing and downswing. So if we stand in the golf swing, and I get a lot of people to try this as well, and we stand all hunched over and we try to rotate our spine, very little rotation with that hunched back. If I get out of that C posture and into a nice neutral position, my trunk rotation or thoracic rotation instantly increases. So again, this C posture is something that we need to correct with golfers because it really does limit our ability to rotate. And you can see that C posture in the middle picture on the right side of the screen there. Second posture that we look at is that S posture. And as the name suggests, our spine makes an S shape when we look down the line. Here, the low back sags into that anterior pelvic tilt position and the upper back starts to round a little bit. S posture indicates weakness in our core and glute musculature and can create a number of swings faults, mostly with an inability to maintain good postures throughout the swing and can cause issues such as early extension. We can see that S posture in the third golfer on the right side of the screen there. That golfer on the left side of the screen is that nice neutral spine that we're looking to get golfers as close as possible to try to create that efficient golf swing. So let's talk about some corrections. So the first thing we want to correct in the first one we talked about is that C posture. So to help correct C posture, we need to teach our upper back how to extend. As most of us spend the majority of our day in a flexed position, whether that's seated at work, driving, eating, etc., our body starts learning that trunk flexion or this hunched forward position is our new normal. And it'll be very hard to have it extend when we try to do an athletic activity such as the golf swing. Throughout the day, we need to spend some time in thoracic extension. This is where the posture arch comes in. This is a product that we sell at our clinics, and this helps teach the thoracic spine how to extend. I have people lie on the arch, putting the spine into an extended position for 15 to 20 minutes, at least once a day, twice being ideal. We might not have all people start on this originally, this 15 to 20 minute timeline, but it's definitely something that we want to work up to. Once the spine has the ability to extend and is in good posture, we can then teach it to rotate properly. If the spine doesn't have an ability to extend, like we did in that example before, it's never going to be able to rotate, and then we're going to have to start using our arms more for the swing or other parts of our body to get the rotation or range of motion that we need to make that efficient golf swing. This posture arch is good, great for the golf swing, but it's also good for our average person. I recommend this to a lot of people who suffer from low back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, as that increased thoracic extension or hunch posture leads to a lot of other mechanical issues and pain as well at the same time. Perfect, S posture. So as we mentioned previously, S posture often occurs due to a weakness in our core and glute musculature, which will cause the low back to drop or sag forward into that anterior pelvic tilt position. If we start the swing in poor posture in a weak core position, we will never be able to maintain good posture and alignment throughout the swing. This is where glute bridges, a great exercise that I tell or teach to a lot of golfers to help get our pelvis in a more neutral position, engage our glute muscles, as well as engage our core muscles. So if we watch through the exercise here, we're going to get flat on our back. I'm going to roll or tilt my pelvis a few times, decreasing the arch, increase the arch, flatten my arch or low back. Once it's flat, I'm going to squeeze my glute muscles, lift my pelvis up, engaging the core, holding for about 5 seconds. I'm then going to come back down, tilt my pelvis a few times. We always want to initiate the exercise with our pelvis in that nice flattened position, squeeze the glute muscles, lift up, hold for 4 to 5 seconds. Great exercise because it gets our low back out of that anterior pelvic tilt position, encouraging it to be more flat and less arched. It also engages our glutes, it engages our core muscles, the muscles that we need to maintain that more neutral pelvic position. Thinking about 10 to 12 repetitions, holding for 5 seconds at the top, and at least once a day. So moving into the backswing. So there are numerous dysfunctions that can occur in the backswing due to a lack of strength, range of motion, and flexibility. We're going to discuss 3 of them, why they occur, and then some stretches and exercises on how to correct them. The 3 that we're going to talk about is flat shoulders, sway, and reverse spine angle. So flat shoulders or loss of posture. At the top of our backswing, the lead shoulder should be facing the ground. As we can see in the diagram there, as we come back, that lead shoulder should be in that slightly downward tilted position, not flattened up as you can see in the diagram to the left there. One of the main reasons golfers develop this flat shoulders in the backswing is due to poor shoulder mobility. If a golfer lacks shoulder range of motion, they need to stand more upright during the backswing in order to get a full turn. So if I'm standing in my backswing and I can only lift my arms to here, but I need to get further to create that full turn or get more power in my golf swing. So instead of being able to lift my arms, I stand up. I lose posture. My shoulders are now more level versus rotating and maintaining that good shoulder position. Being more upright will take the club off plane. It will limit power and cause an inconsistent ball contact. To help correct flat shoulders in the golf swing, we need to improve shoulder range of motion. One of the main muscles that will restrict overhead arm movement is the latissimus dorsi, or the lats. 2 exercises I recommend to a lot of people to help correct this. First is using a massage ball or a foam roller, or something to roll through that lat muscle, or that muscle just kind of under the armpit there, that big bulky muscle. We can do it up against a wall, on the ground on our back, but massaging through that muscle to loosen it up will really help increase our arm range of motion. The other thing that we need to focus on when looking at shoulder range of motion or arm range of motion is creating a good stable base. So that's creating our shoulder blade needs to be in a good stable position to allow our arm to get into overhead. We're never going to have good arm range of motion if our shoulder blade isn't in a good stable position to begin with. And this is where this reach, roll, and lift exercise comes in. So we're going to kind of sit back in our child pose type position. From there, I'm going to reach the arm out, twist, lifting up overhead, down, and repeat that again. About 10 to 12 repetitions would be a good place to start for this exercise. The key with this exercise is as I'm sliding my arm up, we want to make sure that shoulder blade doesn't shrug. My shoulder blade should stay down as I reach, roll, and lift. Here we're working on arm range of motion while creating that good stable shoulder blade all at the same time. And like we mentioned before, both of these need to be accomplished to get good shoulder range of motion and help correct some of this flat shoulder position in the backswing. Second one we're going to talk about is sway. So sway is excessive lateral movement of the body away from the target during the backswing, like we can see in this picture to the right of the screen here. We do need to transfer our weight onto the back foot during the backswing, but this needs to be accomplished through hip and spinal rotation rather than dramatic sway or lateral weight transfer. Some sway is okay in the golf swing, and a lot of good golfers will have some sway, but we do need to limit this or keep it under control. So a lot of golfers have excessive sway due to a lack of hip range of motion. Because the hip doesn't rotate, the body has no choice but to transfer our weight to that back foot. A lack of right hip internal rotation for a right-handed golfer can cause sway. Lack of range of motion in the left hip can cause different swing faults, but for the purpose of this exercise, we're looking at that right hip internal rotation to limit sway. Excessive sway will make it impossible to follow that proper kinematic sequence, causing lack of power and increasing the likelihood of injury. If we don't rotate through the hips and pelvis in the backswing, it'll be almost impossible to initiate the downswing with pelvic rotation like we're supposed to, and like we discussed in the kinematic sequence. So to help limit sway in the backswing, we need to work on improving our hip range of motion. 90-90s is a great exercise for this. Lying on our back, feet flat on the floor, low back nice and flat. We're just going to let the hips turn side to side. One of the most important things for this exercise is making sure our shoulders or our upper back isn't lifting off the table. We want to get the range of motion through our hips, through our pelvis, encouraging them to rotate while our spine stays relatively flat on the floor. Just like before, 10 to 12 repetitions, very effective exercise to work on to help improve some of that hip range of motion. Perfect. Next, we're going to talk about reverse spine angle. So reverse spine angle is a leading cause of low back pain in golfers. So if you're a golfer and you start experiencing some pain during the round or just after the round, there's a good chance that you're, to some extent, going into this reverse spine angle. So this occurs when our upper back bends towards the target during the backswing, and this loads our facet joints. The facet joints are the little joints that just sit at the side of our vertebral body, or the vertebrae. And as we do too much side bending, we really encourage or put too much load onto these joints, and that's where we're going to experience a lot of that back pain. Reverse spine angle occurs when our upper back bends towards that thing, loading the facet joints like I just mentioned. This makes it very difficult to initiate the downswing correctly, and golfers are often upper body dominant, causing a lack of power, club path issues, and pain. Reverse spine angle often occurs due to a lack of thoracic rotation. So if we're unable to rotate our thoracic spine, it bends instead to help us get to the top of the range of motion. So if I'm standing in my golf posture and I rotate into my backswing, but I don't have the ability to rotate to get into that rest of the backswing, I'm going to bend to get my arms up. We want to encourage good rotation to get there, not stop and bend. That's kind of what reverse spine angle looks like. And again, happens a lot of the time due to a lack of ability to rotate through our spine. To help correct reverse spine angle, we need to work on improving our thoracic rotation. Book openers is a great exercise for this. For here, lying on our side, pillow under our head, knees bent to about 90 degrees, arms in front of our body. As I go through this exercise here, my bottom arm stays there and my head and upper body turns away. As you can see, my knees and my pelvis belt line stay facing directly at the camera or straight ahead, while just my spine, upper body rotates away. Great exercise to improve that thoracic range of motion. Again, thinking about 10 to 12 repetitions and doing both sides because we need to encourage rotation in both directions in the golf swing. All right. So there are numerous dysfunctions that can occur in the downswing due to a lack of strength, range of motion, and flexibility. We're going to talk about two different dysfunctions, why they occur, and how to correct them. The first one we're going to talk about is over the top, followed by hanging back. So like we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, to create a powerful and consistent golf swing, we must have proper kinematic sequence, which is, again, as we initiate that downswing, hips and pelvis, torso, spine, lead arm or arms, followed by the wrist and the golf club. To have proper kinematic sequence in our downswing, we must have proper address position to the golf ball and ensure we have enough flexibility, range of motion, and strength to be in an efficient position at the top of our backswing. If we set up to the ball properly and create an efficient backswing, we'll be able to create the proper kinematic sequence in the downswing, hitting the ball further and more consistently. So over the top is the first one that we're going to talk about. Over the top is one of the more common mistakes that we see in golfers, and this often occurs due to an inability to dissociate movement between our upper and lower body. So as I'm standing in my golf position here, I should be able to rotate my upper body without my pelvis moving, or I should be able to twist my pelvis without my upper body and chest moving. This is something a lot of golfers really struggle with, that ability to dissociate movement between those two areas. And it often can cause that over the top or sliced position. This often occurs, we then start the downswing. When this happens and we're unable to dissociate movement, we start the downswing with our upper body, creating more of that slice or fade position of the golf ball. So to help correct the over-the-top position, we need to teach proper dissociation between the spine and pelvis. This is one of the movements that a lot of golfers struggle with. Teaching these areas to move independently of one another is crucial to have the pelvis initiate the downswing and stop that over-the-top swing position. Stork Turns is a great exercise for this. I often tell people to use a golf club for this one, a 3-wood or a driver, something that's a little bit longer is usually more effective. From there, I'm going to come into that single leg balance position, holding the club out in front of us, and I'm twisting my pelvis side to side, or allowing the knee to turn side to side, which is moving my pelvis. If you watch as I'm doing this exercise, my chest stays nice and level, or I'm not rotating through my upper body. My arms, chest, and shoulders are remaining very level, while my pelvis or my belt buckle, you can see, is turning side to side. Now we're teaching that lower body or pelvis to move while the upper body is staying nice and neutral, getting that good dissociation. For this one, again, we want to work both sides, doing the left and right leg. Ensure we maintain good balance throughout the exercise, keeping the upper body nice and stable while that lower body or pelvis is rotating. All right, hanging back. So hanging back occurs when the golfer does not properly shift their weight back onto the front leg during the downswing. This causes inconsistent contact with the golf ball and a lack of power. Hanging back often occurs due to weakness in the core and glutes, as well as a lack of balance. Corrections. So, like I mentioned before, hanging back occurs due to a lack of single leg balance and stability. So, single leg balance and then single leg balance with rotation are two great exercises to work on for this. If we really struggle doing these exercises in the golf position, we can do single leg balance, having our body stand totally upright. But for golfers, I usually like to have people work in the golf position as long as they're able to do it while maintaining good stability. So, if we look at the video here, I'm going to get into my golf posture, lifting my one leg up, holding for 5 seconds, and down. Lifting up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Once that becomes easy and we're able to maintain it, we're then going to maintain good balance as I rotate my trunk side to side. Making 5 to 10 rotations as long as we're maintaining good stability. We don't want to be in this exercise in our single leg balance, wobbly and all over the place. We want to be able to maintain good position throughout the exercise. 2 is, as we get to that single leg position, we want to make sure that our belt line stays nice and neutral. So when I'm in my single leg balance, I'm not dropping or hiking my hip. If I look at my belt line, it creates a good straight line. Very important for this exercise. We want to create a good neutral pelvis, keeping them level to create, again, good efficient pelvic rotation. So here's a little diagram, or a picture, sorry, of our setup that we have at our Markham clinic. And I hope this information helps you identify some of the mistakes you may be making in your golf swing and gives you some tools that you can use to help improve your flexibility, strength, and range of motion to help get you in a better address position, create a more efficient backswing, and develop that proper kinematic sequence in your downswing. This information will hopefully get you started in the right direction. But what I recommend for a lot of golfers is booking a swing assessment at our Markham clinic, where we can do that full swing analysis that includes the K-Vest, or the 3D motion technology, the V1 pressure mat that you can see in the middle there, as well as the biomechanical assessment. This will allow us to determine your individual body and swing dysfunctions and allow us to create a personalized program or plan to help improve your body mechanics through some hands-on treatment, the creation of an exercise program with maybe some of the exercises from today, as well as some progressions and more challenging ones based on what we see, and then the biofeedback training using the V1 and K-Vest. Just to quickly discuss some of the technology we use, the K-Vest, or the 3D motion technology, is kind of what we talked about when we showed that graph that I showed looking at the kinematic sequence. We have you hit some golf balls and it looks at where is your spine. Are you getting enough rotation in your spine? Are you getting enough rotation in your pelvis? Are we sequencing? Are the right body parts moving at the right time? Are they moving at the right speeds? This gives us a lot of information about what we need to work on in the golf swing from a range of motion perspective, from a timing perspective, and very crucial in creating a plan going forward. The V1 pressure mat, which you can see in the center of the screen there, this looks at where our weight is in the golf swing as well as our center of pressure. So we look at address. Is our weight more in our heels, more in our toes? Is it more in our front foot? Is it more in our back foot? And then as we go through the backswing and in the downswing into impact, are we transferring our weight properly? Is it more in the heels, toes? Is it more front? Is it back? Because if we're not getting good ground contact and using the ground effectively throughout our backswing and downswing, again, we're going to lose power, we're going to lose consistency. And these are all things that we're going to use to help create that strength program. The last thing we use is that biomechanical assessment, where we'll take a look at physical range of motion of your hips, your spine, your pelvis, ankles, wrists, elbows, shoulders, all of these joints to see where they're lacking. Do we have the strength? Do we have the range of motion to be able to make an efficient golf swing? We then kind of put all of this information together and create a swing to create a program that makes the most sense for you, addressing all of these areas where you may have some deficits in. Once we get your range of motion and strength back, we then use the K-Vest and V1 to do some biofeedback training. The K-Vest and V1 are very cool tools to help make this more repeatable by teaching your body where it needs to be at certain points in the swing. So we have you with the K-Vest, the sensors on your body, and we'll have you actually go from address into the backswing. As you make these positions, the K-Vest won't let you end that repetition of the drill until we get into the perfect rotation position. Once you get into that rotation position, the machine says, yep, your spine and pelvis are in the right position. You then come back. We then have you repeat that for maybe 10, 15 repetitions. So your body starts learning that, hey, this is where I need to be in the downswing or in part of my backswing, or this is where my spine and pelvis need to be at impact. So when you get onto the golf course, it just becomes second nature. Once we have the range of motion, flexibility, strength in our body to make that efficient swing, we then need to make that repeatable. And the only way to do that is through having your body go through those motions and have it become just a second nature position. Anyways, I hope all this information has found you guys well and you found some of this very useful. If you have any questions, there's my email, dan@honsbergerphysio.com. I look forward to hearing from some of you and hopefully see you at the clinic sometime and we can do some swing assessments and take a look to see where we can make some improvements for this upcoming golf season. Thanks for listening.